Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, the 8th of January, 2025. Jumping on to do a talking video. It might be a little longer, depending on how much we get into this, because there's a lot going on. And once again, Mr. Dadbod, and I'm sure all of you have more questions than answers. Our first topic we're going to talk about is the U.S. debt. According to the federal government, we are currently $36.17 trillion in debt. And I seen a video earlier where someone asked, who are we in debt to? Who do we owe $36.17 trillion to? Well, I looked it up and I was going through some of this stuff, and boy, I can't even begin to tell you that I understand any of it. Maybe you can shed some light on it in the comments, or let me know what your thoughts are, because near as I can tell, from what I've been able to research, but like I said, most of these big governments and elites and all these people own most of the search engines that we can look through. So what they don't want you to see, they're not going to put out there. But near as I can tell, we owe, or not we, I say we, the federal government owes $36.17 trillion. According to what I found out, it's because they've borrowed money from other countries. For instance, we owe China $774.6 billion. We currently owe the United Kingdom $743.9 billion. The Cayman Islands, we owe $419.5 billion. In Luxembourg, we currently owe $402 billion. Now, when you look it up and you try to go through it, it tells you that, a lot of our debt is because of T-bills and loans and things of that nature. Well, China owns most of our T-bills anyways. We have a Federal Reserve that was supposed to be backing our money, and we currently have $200 billion in gold. The rest is just basically IOUs that we have. Near as I can tell, on that $36.17 trillion, the U.S. pays interest on it, and they pay $9.9 trillion a year for this interest on this debt that we owe to these countries, these other countries. So I asked, where does the money go? Well, as near as I could tell, and when I was looking through here, foreign entities, individuals, the Federal Reserve, like I said, only has $200 billion in gold. I don't know why we're paying back our Federal Reserve, but businesses, pensions and mutual funds, and state and local governments is who is receiving this 9.9 trillion that we pay in interest. Now, we're not actually paying a payment. We're paying interest only on this because we can't afford to pay the payment that we would need to pay on $36.17 trillion. Now, mind you, as we're going through this, these are the same people who give you a credit score, who repo your stuff when you don't make your payments, and basically run you through the mill if you try to get a loan to help yourself in any way, shape, or form. These are the people who created that are $36.17 trillion in debt. Remember that. So, when you go through that, when I said foreign entities, individuals, so the way it breaks down is basically foreign governments, mutual funds, and individuals own 80% of that 36.17 trillion debt. So those people, when the payments are made, that 9.9 trillion, get their money first, okay? The Fed, Federal Reserve, owns 20% as an individual of that debt, of the 36.17 trillion. So 20% of that is owned by the Federal Reserve. Now, like I said, the Federal Reserve used to have lots and lots of gold in it. In 1933, it was sold off for IOUs, basically, and we only have about 200 billion left in there. The other thing, which is going to piss a lot of you off, I can tell you it's going to piss you off because it pissed me off. 1/5 of that debt of 36.17 trillion is Social Security. Somehow, they've took what you've paid in to Social Security and have gained a debt against it. 1/5 of the 36.17 trillion came from Social Security. So they pay that back. Of that 9.9 trillion, basically 1/5 goes back into Social Security, is what I was meaning. Sorry, I said it backwards. But yeah, so 80% goes to the foreign governments and mutual funds and individuals. 20% of it goes to the Fed, and 1/5 of it goes back into Social Security. Which a lot of people probably don't realize that the Social Security, when you retire and you get that money, you should get a lot more of it, but the government has created an offset because of these debts, so they essentially keep half of it, and they're paying it back because there was debt, so they had to borrow from Social Security, okay? And they're paying it back 1/5 a year, basically, out of that 9.9 trillion. Now, here's the funny part. None of it's funny, really, but here's the funny part. They take taxes from us illegally. They say it's voluntary, but they've been doing it for a long time. And in 2023, they took $4.4 trillion from us in taxes. Well, I just told you that our interest payment on the 36.17 billion or trillion is $9.9 trillion. So they don't even have enough money to cover their debts. That's what they're stealing from us, and what they steal from Social Security, and what they steal wherever they can. They don't have enough money to pay for it. What happens if you don't pay your bills on your house or your car? They repossess it. They take it, and you don't get it back. So all of these bills that I'm talking about have been racked up by our government, the federal government, and they say that, the vid were unexpected things, and that caused huge debt. They say that the health care and the tax that they don't take from, or that they steal from us, is not enough to cover their payments for their debts. They say that they need to basically take more from us and to take Social Security completely away so they can use that. They blame it on us that they can't pay their debts. This $36.17 trillion, I guarantee you there's not one person on here that agreed to send $700 billion to Ukraine. There isn't one person on here who agreed to send all of this money around the world to all of these other places where Americans are at home hurting. North Carolina still hasn't got no help. Florida still hasn't got no help. Maui still hasn't got no help. And if they do get any help, it comes in the form of a loan with interest attached to it. Where these people, the people who are representing you and me and making sure that our best interest is looked out for, we voted for them, put them in office to make sure we're taken care of, are $36.17 trillion in debt, paying $9.9 trillion a year in interest. And the money that they scam from us and steal from us on a daily basis isn't even enough to cover their debts. So therefore, we're living in poverty in the United States, one of the freest, wealthiest countries in the world, we can't afford to pay for anything. We can't even pay the debt that they have accumulated for us. Another little tidbit that's kind of interesting that while I was researching all of this, according to Google, when you look it up, I asked how much money is in circulation. And it says that paper money that you can actually hold and spend and touch, there is only $2.3 trillion in circulation. Okay? Remember, we only have $200 billion in our Federal Reserve to back us. I know that there's other assets and everything within the federal government that they probably don't own, that they have weaseled out of people that didn't pay their taxes that they own now, and all of the lands and everything that they own. But in the last 4 years, it's estimated that the current administration has printed $700 trillion. Now I ask you, I'm going to need some mathematicians to comment on this, because I don't understand how we have 2.3 trillion in circulation. And in the last 4 years, they've printed over $700 trillion. Where's the money? Where did it go? I know that they send pallets of cash in the night on airplanes to other countries. We've seen it happen. We've seen them do this a lot of times. But how is there only 2.3 trillion in circulation in the United States, but the 700 trillion that they printed in the last 4 years, where did that go? If that was the case, they could have paid off the $36.17 trillion that were in debt. But no, they didn't. We're still in debt. We still are going to keep paying that 9.9 trillion. We're not going to ask any of the other countries to help us out to relinquish that debt because, we're the superior power. Are we the superior power? It seems as if we're not. It seems as if we're cowtailing to all of these people who have loaned us money. We supposedly got loaned money, and we're paying trillions of dollars in interest. What are the other countries paying us for? Nothing. Sounds to me like they're laughing at us and smoking big cigars and having cognac because they're making a fortune off of the U.S. And the people of the U.S. are paying for it with blood, sweat, and tears. So that's just the first topic that I wanted to talk about. Let me know what your thoughts are on this and see if you can shed some light on it for me, and maybe you can make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense to me at all. There's so many programs out there where the government has to take half of your money, or take your taxes, or take your Social Security, or take the DFC offset from military widows, or take their pensions, or they have to automatically go after your retirement or your Social Security because they're in debt and their spending habits are not working for them, and they can't live unless they have millions of dollars. And most of our federal government is paid millions and millions of dollars of our tax dollars. If you figure up how much they're spending way more than they have, as you can see. And when they do catch them by doing a audit or an investigation into it, mysteriously, out of nowhere, planes crash into buildings and everything is lost when they misplaced $2.3 trillion. And the fact that the last 7 audits in the Pentagon have been failed because they're missing trillions and trillions of dollars that they don't know where it went. I think we know where it went. We just can't really do nothing about it. So that's the first topic. Let me know your thoughts about that topic. The second topic, obviously everybody knows that there is some huge fires happening in California. It's sad. My thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that it is affecting. But you have to wonder. These fires are happening in East Palisades, California, like Los Angeles County, like where all of the celebrities, like the $1 million houses, I mean, millions and millions of dollar houses, a lot of celebrities live in that area. You have to wonder. Diddy was just arrested and said he was going to name names of a lot of celebrities. And now there's huge fires that are burning down everything that could be linked to that. It's very interesting. Very interesting stuff. Also, I don't even know how it's possible or how it happened, but within the last couple of months, the insurance companies dropped all fire coverage in that area. So there's no insurance that covers the fires in that area. Makes no sense to me. It's almost an act of God, if you will, that this happened all at the same time. But there's also no water. There's no water in the hydrants. For some reason, the governor turned off the water to the fire hydrants. Okay? Now stay with me, because like I said, a lot of things ain't adding up. And it's not mathing. That's why we need some mathematicians to jump on here and let us know what is going on. Because there's no insurance. There's no water. A lot of celebrities that could possibly know Diddy or be involved with him. And they're having trouble getting firefighters. Now, I also heard that there was DEI hires for the fire department. Not really any experience, no anything, just put into place because they were a female and they're running the show. They have nothing. These people's houses, livelihoods, everything's burning to the ground. Their stores, their grocery stores. I mean, they just ordered 800,000 people to evacuate. They have 100-mile-an-hour winds currently, and this thing's raging out of control with 0% containment. Wednesday the 8th at 5:47 Mountain Time, there's still 0% containment. And we've got all of this that's going on. Now, if you think back to New Year's, Bourbon Street, New Orleans, normally has barriers at either end of the road. For some reason, on New Year's, those were ordered to be removed. So someone was able to drive down that road where they have Mardi Gras, they have parties, they have it all the time, so that way they can block traffic from going down that road. Well, it just so happens that this particular New Year's, those were removed, someone drove down the road, and people were injured. Some were unalived, and it was horrible. Why were those ordered to be removed? Did someone know something? Is that why on September 11th, 2001, that there was construction going on at the Twin Towers and most everybody was removed from there? There's a lot of coincidences that happen when these big natural disasters happen. You got to ask yourself, at what point are we going to start questioning the coincidences? You know what I mean? There's some serious coincidences that have been happening. The Tesla guy that was driving the truck over by Trump Tower, they said that he had unalived himself, but yet in the videos you can see him moving in the truck before the detonation. He was a Green Beret in the military, loved the new administration that's coming in, and he was trying to out what was going on with the drones in New Jersey. And everybody, I'm sure at this point, has read those emails. Like I said, there's too many coincidences with all these things that keep happening to us, and as Americans, we need to say, okay, enough is enough. We're done with the coincidences. They don't add up. None of this stuff adds up. The amount of money that they're stealing from us and using it doesn't add up. It actually adds up to more than we are giving them. And it's not right. We need to be looked after as Americans. That's what we voted for. We voted for these people to look out for our best interest. And the only interest that they have is theirs, lining their pockets, making sure they're taken care of, and they could care less about us. So that is topic number 2. Let me know what your thoughts are about. I mean, go back as far as you want to go back and tell me about these coincidences and how unlikely that it is that it would happen, but it did happen. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Like I said, September 11th, the New Orleans, the Tesla, the fires, the Maui fires, the hurricanes, the snowstorm that's about to barrel down on North Carolina, and all of these places where people are still living in tents because they haven't got no money. FEMA's broke. There's no money there. But yet, they're taking $4.4 trillion from us in taxes, and they're spending $9.9 trillion a year in interest. No wonder there's no money. There's no money because it's in all of their pockets, and they don't want to give it up. That's why $700 trillion in the last 4 years was printed, and it, poof, is gone. There's only $2.3 trillion supposedly circulating in the U.S. in cash. Makes no sense. I thought we had to have something to back it before we could have money, but apparently that's not the case anymore. The last thing that we're going to talk about is direct propulsion. Apparently, one of the drones that they had shot down or whatever, it got knocked down, was running on a direct propulsion system. I know that if you look that up, you can read about it. It's kind of interesting that a direct propulsion is stuff that you would see in science fiction, like UFOs and that kind of thing, that type of technology. And supposedly that's what these drones are running off from. So that's kind of spooky because you can't hear them. And if you don't see them, you don't even know that they're there because there's no sound with direct propulsion. So that's another interesting topic. The other one is something called remote viewing. It just came out that this is something that the current 3-letter agency has been doing. And so basically I'll just tell you a brief overview. Like I said, you can read about it. In remote viewing experiments, a participant visualizes a target such as a person, place, or fact, and then mentally represents it. A judge compares the participant's report to a target or a decoy to determine if there was a match. The CIA used remote viewing in Stargate projects, which was funded by the CIA and DIA in the 1970s. Harold E. Puthoff was the principal investigator for the Stargate project. So, it's another thing, basically out of science fiction, that makes no sense. But apparently they have accomplished it. There's a few other things that I think that they've accomplished, like Project Bluebeam. You should look up MK Ultra. You should look up Project Artichoke, Operation Sea Spray. Those are all interesting things to read about with all of the current stuff going on within the United States and around the world. Look those up. Those are just a couple of them. Let me know what your thoughts are, because, like I said, there's more questions than answers always. I wish and I hope in the future we will start getting answers to all of these questions. Like I said, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments. Share these videos so people can, look into them. Get me some mathematicians to make this math add up. And, we'll go from there. We'll see you on the next video. You guys have a good night.